Hello and welcome to the Sub1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and in this video, R2D2 build part 9. I'm going to work on the right hand wheel pod. Since I've got a left hand wheel pod, the center wheel pod, I think I need the right hand one so I can start to get him to go together. So there's a few modules that we learnt within the first one that I can basically build, like this wheel module, for example. Has a tyre and each side of the hub, and it gets held together by 3 screws. So we'll just pop him together. Now, this is the gear that drives all of this, and if I line him up properly, that's him there. We can drop our hex nut in to these 3 holes. These are M4 Hex Nuts. And this is a 25mm M4 screw, which we will put in from the other side. And repeat for the other 2. Now on the left hand side, I actually put in 3 self-tapping screws from this side into the other half, and once these 3 screws are in, you really don't need them. So I'm going to not put those ones in at this stage. So that's our first module that we can assemble. The next one I'm going to put together is going to be the OmniWheel. So there are 4 parts to the OmniWheel, as frame parts for the OmniWheel. We got to make sure that the smooth part on one wheel only. The other side has to have one of these keyed ones. We take our tyres. I've already inserted, like I did for one of the other videos. I think it was in the first video, I actually assembled a heap of these rollers. It's a TPU print, and in this case I've got an ASA former in the middle. It takes a fair bit of pressure to push it in. Then I've installed bearings, and I'll list on the screen what those bearings are. Then we take one of these axles. These are a 3mm brass rod, and they're 40mm long. All up, we will have 8 of them. So, and then they just drop into the framework like so. So let's get these in. Now, for more detail on putting this together, you can go and watch one of the other videos. I do have a list of all of the videos, and I'll see if I can get those in the descriptions at some stage. So M4 screw 12mm long, and another M4 hex nut. There will be 8 of these in total, and there it is, my Allen key. So this build is very much like the left hand side that I've already done. The parts for the framework are just a mirror image, and so are the gears. All the gears are actually reversed compared to the left hand side. So again, we're going to start with tyre on the former with bearings. 2 bearings, 1 on each side, our 40mm long, 3mm diameter brass rod. Put the top on. Hex nut. M4 12mm long screw. If you're following along building this as I am, then you should have already had a fair bit of practice at this type of construction already, as I have. And that is our wheels assembled. Okay, so we have our bottom piece, and it will have this piece installed on it. So this holds the OmniWheel, or one side of it, has hex nuts in from the top and screws come up from underneath. So there's a hex nut. Here's another hex nut. Now, $20mm long M4 countersunk screw. So goes in through this hole, and there's a second one goes in through here. That then fits on like so. And then we just do up the screws. Once the screws are started, I can turn it over and do these up nice and tight. Okay, so we want to put in our square nuts in down the bottom down here, and we'll weld those into place so they don't fall, but stop them from being filled in the threaded section. Before we put our screws in, we'll actually put some screws in now, and that'll hold them in place while we weld them in. Now there's a few other nuts that have got to be installed as well, square nuts. I've already installed these two and welded those into place so they don't come out, but I have got quite a few others that need to go in. So we have one down here that holds this cover plate in. Actually, if I'm smart, this is a 10mm long M4, and I'll drop that into there just to hold that nut in place. That same cover has another one goes in over there, and again we'll hold it down. For the one on the top here, I'm going to use one of these 20mm screws. There's another one at the top up here. Another 20mm screw. I might just use my tweezers to put this one in. Another one in there. Another 20mm screw. And that's all of those ones. While I'm looking at putting modules together, I might as well put this one together. So this is the top side. Literally goes down this way on top and has this hub installed in there, so I'm going to put that in as well. That's a 12mm long M4 screw with a hex nut. You know what I didn't put in when I was building my OmniWheels? I didn't put in my bearings. I'm going to have to go back and do that. Takes two 608 bearings. Okay, let's got that back together. Now, these two pieces have already got their nuts welded into them. This one does not. So we might drop a couple of nuts in there. Had nuts in it, but they weren't welded in. Another module I can put together is that one, but I'll weld this up first. And this is my 3D pen. I'm going. Okay, so it's set for ABS. The temperature I've got set for 235 degrees C. I'm actually using PETG in this pen at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to set this up to high speed. Do our second one. Let's do this bottom one. Now this is the harder one to do because it's obscured by plastic over the top. But if you can keep it fairly molten, you can put it over the top and then push it down. And that works well. There's two 20mm long screws that go through here. And on this side there are hex nuts. So let's put our hex nuts in. And I'm going to secure those in as well. That'll stop those nuts from falling out while I'm trying to install the motor. Alright, so turn that off for the moment. We'll remove these two screws from the back side and we'll drop this in. Now, someone showed me it's actually easy to get it in that way. But before I put that in, what I do need to do is put its bearings in. So these are 606 bearings. I'm using 606 EZ, that's steel shields. The gear I printed in ASA, but you can use PETG or PLA. So let's try that again. Now we'll grab these two screws out, and we can take this cover and slide it in over the top. Actually, I might put those on the outside. These are the 10mm screws. It only just caught the nut, and I'm not real happy with that, so I might put the 12mm ones in on the top. That feels better. So now we can take this axle piece, this was printed in ASA, and we can push that in and line up through the hole. But somebody else on YouTube showed another trick. If I leave that floating for the moment, it makes it easier to get both this piece and the motor with its gear in. So I'm going to put my gear on first. I left the screw in there. This is actually, how long is that screw? This is a 16mm long screw. I prefer to have it sticking out a little bit, just knowing that it's grabbed better. There are two sizes of these sprockets, or these gears. This is the smaller of the ones. But I'll do this up and lock it onto the shaft. Now, the shape of the teeth on these tend to make the gears align themselves to center. They don't like going off center, so it tends to pull it into center better. Now I'm going to have to remove these two screws so I can get the motor in. Now, this is sitting all the way down at the moment, so I'm going to lift it up a couple of mil, just so that it's not sitting on the bottom with its gear, and that'll cause the next gear to rise up a bit as well, and that'll carry through to the main wheel. Once this is done up tight, it's not going anywhere. So we're going to drop a square nut into this piece. I printed this in ASA. You can use any of the other materials, although I wouldn't recommend using it PLA. You could also put a M8 nut and bolt in here as well, but I'm going to go with the ASA for now. And 20mm screw with the ASA printed washer. These are all countersunk screws. We can drop our bearings into here. These are 608 bearings. ZZ bearings, meaning they've got the steel shields. You can use the 2RS, which have got the plastic ones. That does go in much easier with the center pin not engaged. Now flip it over. I'm just going to use my Allen key to make sure the bearing is in the middle. Drop that down. These are my 10mm screws. Yes, they will go in nicely. Awesome. So this one requires a square nut in it as well. Just drops in like so. Drops into the hex hole. Then we can take our 25mm long countersunk M4 screw with the 3D printed washer and screw it in as well. We can now take our OmniWheel assembly and drop it straight on. That could also be an M8 bolt if you chose to do so. So I'm going to push my M8 nuts into this side cover. But before I go any further, let's build this top section assembly. Now when we're assembling this, we want to make sure that the side is aligned with the framework. This is for the other side. The screws are offset, which makes it easier. Now there's a square nut needs to be dropped into these two holes. I'll start with that one. Then there's 3 square nuts. Then we can place this on top. This is a 12mm M4 screw. Another 12mm M4 screw. And a 20mm M4 screw for where this rounded piece is. $20mm in here. Okay, so this curved part here goes near our wheel, and that just pushes in quite nicely. I didn't have to touch this up with a file or anything for these holes, which means my printer must have been printing accurately. Of course, it would help if I took these 3 screws out first. I almost forgot, before I get too far, I need to put this piece in as well. It needs to have the entry for the nuts going up. And then it gets a 20mm screw from the back to hold it in place. Try this again. Right, now we can put our screws back in. These ones up for a start. Okay, so we have these 2 pieces left to go in down the bottom. Since they're welded, I can now just drop them in. Keep my cable in place so it doesn't drag on the ground. I'm going to use a small cable tie. Feed it through those holes. And to keep this from flapping around, I'm just going to use a countersunk screw. This is similar to a 4mm or a 4G. And just screw this through the case. It doesn't have to be overly tight, it just has to stop it from flapping around. I've got 2 25mm screws. They go on this side, and we use a hex screw in here is a hole for the hex screw to drop in. If we're careful, we can feed that up, and with a bit of luck it will engage and then pull up. I think I got lucky first go. Repeat the same on this side. Got lucky on that one too. Then it's a hex nut and 20mm for here. And another one for there. Alright, so that's our basic assembly done. For some reason I've got 3 spare screws. I'm not sure what that's about at this stage, but let's look at the top cover. So on the left side I have already shown building the cover. The right side I've actually built already off screen. Given it a little bit of sand back. It does still need to be painted. I did drop it and crack it, so I welded that back up as well. So we're going to drop this onto it. That's where the 20mm screws go. We go. That seems a bit long to me. I'm going to go with 12mm. Flip it over and do the same on this side. Alright, so now our ankle piece can slot into here. The pin, this is printed in ASA and then acetone glued together. That will go through there. And then the battery box, which I've already welded together. I may have to reprint it because I've managed to break the end off here. Probably when I dropped it at one point. Will slip on here and these 2 screws do up from underneath. I will leave that off for the moment because I've still got to attach an ankle to it. And I will probably have to reprint those again. Well, that's this wheel assembly completed. With a bit of luck, I will probably start on the legs and then I can hook them onto the shoulders and onto here. Actually, no, I think I might do the base plate for the center leg, and that way I can put all the legs on together. To see when those videos are coming out, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. It's a form of support that helps the channel a great deal and costs you absolutely nothing. If you'd like to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon account and you can join my VIP patrons Go Lucky and Copernicus, my All Access patron Jeff Jerd, my Builder patrons Al Morales 45, Andrew Cardone, Agar69, Stefan Pabst, James Kelly, Guy Demary, and my YouTube member Magdi Salib in helping to support the channel. All my patrons and YouTube members get these videos a week before they're released on YouTube, and my VIP patrons get these videos as I produce them. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment below or drop into my Discord. There'll be a link in the description. You can ask your question there, and if I can't answer it, someone else might be able to. and we'll see you in the next video.